Munich 1964. The big Oktoberfest is about to kick off, and these two guys are unknowingly making rollercoaster history.
Der nette rundliche Herr ist Otto van der Wille aus Hamburg, neben ihm Hans Ostermeier vom TÜV. Sein Ja und Unterschrift sind Startschuss für die bunten Autos und rollenden Markstücke. Das Ding sieht nicht schlecht aus.
After a successful test run, it was time. The Super-8-Bahn, later known as the Schwarzkopf Wildcat, the first German steel roller coaster and the first joint roller coaster project by Anton Schwarzkopf and Werner Stengel, was opened for the first time. This ride kicked open the door for all the engineering wizardry that's defined modern roller coasters for nearly 60 years. Despite its unassuming appearance, the Schwarzkopf Wildcat is packed with more ingenuity than ever before. It made roller coaster and ride engineering a serious and recognized business, and even today around 10 of these 60-year-old Wildcat models are still operating worldwide. Let's take a closer look at the history of this ride. Showman Otto van der Wille, son of the same van der Wille whose roller coaster a young Werner Stengel rode as a kid, wanted to build Germany's first steel roller coaster. Up until then, all roller coasters in Germany had been built exclusively with wooden structures. Not only was this outdated compared to modern technology, but it also had the downside of taking weeks to set up and dismantle. Meanwhile, over in Italy, the company Pinfari had been building steel roller coasters since 1953, but they had no chance of being approved in Germany. No certified welders, no material certificates, no structural calculations. Efforts were made to get Pinfari to adapt to German standards, but they were unsuccessful. So, because of their successful work on the bumper cars earlier, Otto van der Wille sought a collaboration with Schwarzkopf and Stengel. Schwarzkopf was to design the roller coaster, while Stengel would handle the calculations. Van der Wille set the footprint, decided where the station should be, and specified that it needed to handle around 800 riders per hour. Even details like designing the support's weight so two men could carry them during setup and teardown were discussed. When you compare the Pinfari roller coasters of the time with Schwarzkopf's design, the similarities are undeniable. In fact, in 1963, Anton Schwarzkopf and Otto van der Wille made several trips across the Alps to take advantage of Italy's technological lead. Returning from these exploratory journeys with all the key data in hand, they knocked on Werner Stengel's door. They spread out their travel souvenirs, sketches and photos on the living room table and asked the young, still a student Stengel to calculate the roller coaster. It was an incredibly tempting offer, though Werner Stengel worried that such a massive project might be beyond his capabilities. But the showman wouldn't easily take no for an answer, and so Stengel was persuaded with a substantial 5,000 Deutsche Mark bonus to tackle the Super-8-Bahn project, in addition to juggling his studies and family. As the designer and manufacturer, Anton Schwarzkopf determined the profiles for the supports, posts and bracings and selected the materials to be used. He also devised new bolted connections between the components. His main focus, however, was on the track. Pinfari used an inwardly angled counterwheel to prevent the running wheel from derailing. Instead, Schwarzkopf welded a round tube to a U-profile, placing the counterwheel between its legs. This made the track lighter and easier to transport. The track used different sub-profiles. In low-stress sections, the thinnest profile 1 was used, in slightly more stressed areas profile 2, and in sections with the highest centrifugal forces profile 3. Externally, the differences between the Italian roller coasters and Germany's first steel roller coaster were minimal, but the engineering behind it made it the starting point for a groundbreaking evolution in roller coaster design. Until then, speeds and the heights of ascents and descents were typically estimated or determined through simple model tests. Werner Stengel, however, used precise mathematics to calculate energy and speed. For the first time, the horizontal and vertical forces acting during the ride were calculated, and the moving loads were analyzed from a scientific perspective in relation to the structure's overall statics. This allowed Stengel to design the support and track constructions so that they were neither over nor under-engineered. Schwarzkopf and van der Wille were grateful, as this reduced costs and saved materials. It was also a crucial first step toward designing amusement rides safely, both in terms of structural stability and, even more importantly, the impact on riders. How much should the vehicle tilt in the curve and how much should the track be banked? Stengel was able to calculate the ride path, speed and necessary curve radius with engineering precision, optimizing them already during the planning phase. This approach, which incorporated the kinetics and kinematics of the ride sequence, should pay off in the future. For 1964, however, there was no more perfect roller coaster experience. A smooth ride, free from unpleasant jolts. Remarkably, Werner Stengel performed these calculations in the bedroom of a small 2-room apartment next to his soon-to-be-born child's crib. There, his drafting board was set up on 2 trestles, and without a mechanical calculator, he used a slide rule and logarithm tables to solve the complex equations. He was often assisted by a fellow student who cleared off the kitchen table to help. In April 1963, his daughter Michaela was born. Meanwhile, work on the construction was underway at Anton Schwarzkopf's facility in Münsterhausen. Instead of the electric drive of the Düsenspirale, a chain lift was used. A new braking system was developed and the vehicles were given an especially sleek look. Instead of carriages reminiscent of old horse-drawn coaches, stripped down and downsized Audi car bodies zoomed along the track. These mini-cars would later give Werner Stengel quite a headache, as Anton Schwarzkopf expected him to calculate not only them, but also all the mechanical components. As a civil engineer, Stengel thought he didn't need to deal with mechanical matters. Schwarzkopf saw it differently and provided Stengel with enough cash to buy specialized literature. Additional help came from Karl Mayer at Pt.2 Munich, who supplied Stengel with technical catalogs on ball bearings, chains, motors, springs, hydraulic cylinders and anything else he needed. In short, everything about this roller coaster was built from the ground up. New track, new vehicles, new calculations, with setup and logistics carefully considered from the start. All of this led to better ride quality, safety and durability for the roller coaster. Back to the morning of September 16, 1964. The TÜV gave the roller coaster its approval and it was ceremoniously opened. At 13 meters or 42 feet tall and 426 meters or 1400 feet of track, it wasn't breaking any size records, but it still made roller coaster history. The mobile wooden roller coasters of the time seemed outdated by comparison. Zooming down 45-degree drops at 54 kilometers or 33 miles per hour, the ride felt sensational for its era. Curves had never been navigated so smoothly and elegantly. The layout featured 2 high-altitude turnarounds with a first drop between them, letting riders catch their breath and take in a sweet view of the fairground. Packs 2 more drops with a touch of airtime, plus a left-handed helix, another drop or hill depending on the ride's model, and a right-handed helix leading into the final brake run. At Oktoberfest 1964, the roller coaster recouped its entire purchase price at 2.5 Mark per ride, which would be 50 cents in 1964 dollars or around €5 or dollar in today's economy. Many American soldiers stationed in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, already familiar with roller coasters from back home, were so thrilled that they offered the showman up to $20 per ride after hours. Otto van der Wille recognized Werner Stengel's contribution and rewarded him with an additional 5,000 Mark bonus. Other showmen were equally impressed by the new ride. Thanks to its innovative design, the roller coaster could be set up and taken down much faster, making it far more practical. With 10 to 15 locations per year, it could operate at roughly 3 times the frequency of previous rides. Just 2 months later, in December 1964, Stengel modified the track geometry for the Swedish amusement park Liseberg in Gothenburg. With 23 units of the Wildcat sold, it became a global bestseller. Starting in Scandinavia, soon North America, Canada, Spain and Australia wanted one too. Especially in the US, major parks like Busch Gardens, Cedar Point, Worlds of Fun and Six Flags Magic Mountain were eager to get their own. All this happened within a span of just 5 years. To give a little more variety to potential customers, the Wildcat roller coaster came in 3 iterations, named for the length of their footprint: the 45, 54 and 65 meter models. While the core layout stays mostly consistent across all 3, the 65 meter versions pack some distinct tweaks that set it apart from its smaller siblings. First, the pre-drop right after the lift hill is a little bigger on the 65 meter model, with the ride itself having a max height of 14.5 meters or 50 feet, compared to the 10.5 meters or 35 feet of the 45 meter version, with the 54 meter model in between at 13.5 meters or 45 feet. Next, the second major drop, which cuts diagonally across the layout, gets a bolder treatment in the 65 meter model. In the 45 and 54 meter versions, this drop doesn't plunge to ground level, leaving space for a final straight drop later on. The 65 meter version, however, goes to the ground and swaps that last drop for a small hill. Lastly, the drop running parallel to the lift hill has more flair in the smaller models, weaving in and out of the structure without quite touching the ground. On the 65 meter model, it's a straight plunge all the way down. Anton Schwarzkopf, thrilled by the successful collaboration and the resounding success of the roller coaster, wanted to secure Werner Stengel's long-term involvement and offered him a position at his company. Though flattered, Stengel wanted to complete his studies first and was unsure about accepting. In a conversation with showman Otto van der Wille, the latter strongly advised Stengel against taking the offer. Van der Wille had already recognized that the role of engineering in roller coaster and carnival ride construction would become increasingly vital in the future. "There's a gap here," he told Stengel. "There's no one else doing these kind of calculations." After discussions with his wife, Stengel decided not to let the opportunity pass and registered his independent engineering firm Stengel with the Munich tax office on March 28, 1965. His equipment, a drafting board, a telephone and a slide rule. Out of loyalty to Schwarzkopf, the two signed an exclusive contract. Stengel committed to working solely for Anton Schwarzkopf in the field of portable amusement rides. In return, Schwarzkopf guaranteed him a minimum annual fee of 20,000 marks, regardless of whether projects were commissioned. The contract lasted 12 months and could be terminated on October 1st of any year. This gave Werner Stengel the financial security his young family needed, as well as the flexibility for whatever might come next. In just the first 18 months, Stengel completed 24 projects, including roller coasters, flat rides, Ferris wheels and bumper cars. On top of all that, his diploma thesis was coming up fast. The topic: formwork and scaffolding for the Hamburg TV Tower. This meant 250 drawings and just as many pages of structural calculations. After some back and forth with his professor, he got a pass on 50 pages and still scored a perfect grade. Later, his design was actually implemented during the construction of the TV tower. 2 years later, diploma in hand, he walked out of the Technical University of Munich in August 1966, ready for the next chapter. In the meantime, however, Schwarzkopf was already working on new rides.